Hey everyone, it's Chris here. Ever since my 500 hit video that I put up, I've been wondering about what I said about starting to do video reviews of movies that start to come out. And I think that I'm probably going to jump on that. Watching films and reviewing them was always something of a hobby of mine, and I've always done it with my friends and family, and I figure I probably want to share my thoughts on films with you guys on YouTube. And I figured that one of the best movies to get that out of the way is something that's really popular and has taken the country by storm. And the one that I'm talking about is the stop motion stupid comedy Lego the Movie. Call me crazy, but I really don't see how a stop motion movie with child humor, some vulgar, simple humor, and random pop music, I don't see how it can really do it. Because the story doesn't seem to have much structure, pun unintended. I'm actually curious. I never actually thought of the actors that are actually in this thing. Let's check it out. Let's see, directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. That's nice. Will Arnett. That's a pretty good first impression, if I do say so myself. Anthony Daniels is in this. Let's see, we got Charlie Day, Keith Ferguson, Will Ferrell's in this movie. Oh look, it's James Franco's lesser-known younger brother, Dave Franco. Isn't that a surprise?
Oh wait, that wasn't you. That was your less retarded younger brother, Dave. Dave.
Wait a second. Morgan Freeman's in this movie? God's in this movie? Man, this thing is packed, man. Look, Liam Neeson, Shaquille O'Neal, Chris Pratt. Look at all these guys. Channing Tatum. Wait, I wonder who else could be in it. Wait a second. What the hell? What the hell? Ah! Okay. I gotta see it.
Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of a team. Everything is awesome when we live in our dream.
Hey everyone, it's Chris here, and I recently just got back from the Lego Movie, and the part that you saw before, that the introductory part, I had made that part before I actually went to go see it, so I actually really did go see the movie on the same day that I recorded the intro, just so that the experience was fresh in my mind, and so that I can give you a very honest opinion that hasn't really withered in my memory a little bit. So, I'd like to get started by saying, first of all, stop motion animation is extremely hard, and I'll give you a few examples here. My first real example of this would probably be in Wallace and Gromit, in which people meticulously and constantly move frame by frame these little clay models that show the small, minute movements between just these causes fluid motion that's storyboarded out first and then later put in place, which means that they must have actually, for the Lego Movie, they must have actually done something similar. And these tiny motions can probably at least take hours to actually do, and means that filming is a long, arduous, and very careful process. Means that it must have taken a while, but it was slow enough that they managed to make it look good. And as you can see in all these movies, it follows that exact same tradition in the Lego Movie. So like you saw, this sort of thing isn't easy for anybody, any sort of filmmaker. The concept of stop motion animation itself is a monument in itself. And the fact that they can make a feature-length movie using Lego bricks, I know it's been done before. I mean, the concept of using Lego-based stop-motion animation has been done before, but not to the level and to the scale that we saw in this movie. And I have to give the producers and the director credit just for all the little intricacies in there. The fact that, well, you can use people for filming. You can definitely use people. And people are fluid sort of things. We move all over the place, and it's all very smooth and stuff. Lego bricks are not smooth. Okay, anyone who's actually ever played with Lego bricks knows that they're clunky, they're blocky, and they're prone to a whole bunch of rigid movements. And the fact that they can make a movie out of that impresses the hell out of me. It really does. So, that out of the way. Let's talk a little bit about the movie. Alright, going into the theater, I had to catch the 10:20 show. Because I was busy doing other things as well, just before I actually got into the theater itself. So I had to wait a little while, and the only time I could get out, the previous show, the 7:55, had already happened by the time I was able to finish up with my group work for university, one of our Shakespeare projects. So the only other show that I could catch was the 10:20 show. So it was a late night show, and I'm recording this at it's 1 o'clock in the morning exactly right now, at filming right now. So it was a late film, and I don't think that really diminished the sort of expectations that I had. I went in there expecting exactly like I thought I would, a stupid fun movie, and you know what? I came out entirely fulfilled and satisfied. This movie is stupid fun, plain and simple, and I really think that you're going to love it. So, how I generally do things is, I look at a couple of different criteria, and I'll lay them out for you as such. Okay, so there's a couple things I tend to look at. Usually we start with the synopsis, characters and setting, plot, the actual plot itself, the meaning of the movie, if applicable, and of course, the musings and my closing thoughts. This is my general style, and I tend to do it in any order I like. Okay, so we're going to be doing the general premise of the film first. And let's talk about the Lego Movie. What is a Lego Movie? It's pure, unadulterated creativity on a massive, blocky level. All the characters are obviously based on the Lego construction sets. And they attempted to make a movie out of it. And the simple fact of the movie is that the premise of it, what they're going for, is what happens when you pit pure, unadulterated creativity towards rigid order and structure. And what you get is this movie. At first glance, the movie itself appears to be something about good and evil, black and white. Square peg, round hole, you know the whole ordeal. But in truth, it's actually a little bit more complex with that. And I'm not going to tell you a little bit more about it because it's deeper than that, and you'll see that as it goes on. But what you will see is an adventure. Let's talk about the characters. The main character is played by Chris Pratt. Is a character by the name of Emmett Brakowski, and it's neat to see that they're using the Lego puns in the very names. So you got a Polish Lego-ish sounding name. Anyways, plain and simple, Emmett's an idiot. He makes no effort to hide this. As a matter of fact, he actually pretty much admits that he's an idiot. And what sets the events in motion is that Emmett lives in this wonderful, beautiful Lego wonderland, let us say. Except that paradise is not so good for Emmett. As a matter of fact, that this city of his, I believe the name was Brickburg, is actually a very cookie-cutter, sort of cold, stagnant, gray city that is run by the evil Lord Business that is played by the wonderful and always charming Will Ferrell. Now, Lord Business himself, and it's hard to talk about this in any sort of straight-face sort of thing because the concept is so silly. But that's what makes the movie so great, is because it's so silly. Anyways, Business himself, Lord Business, or so he calls himself, President Business by the time that this film really comes to fruition, is looking for something that is known as a Kraggle. And the Kragle itself is a mighty and powerful weapon that is to doom all the citizens of Brickburg to an eternity of order and compliancy. And he hopes to get the Kragle, which I'm not going to say what it is because it's going to diminish the effect, as I really want you guys to see it. And I could tell you what it is, because you're going to kick yourself after you realize. Like, you're going to see what it is, and you're like, oh, that makes sense. The keeper of the Kragle is the wise and powerful Virtuosus? Jeez. It's Morgan Freeman's character. I can't believe that I forget this. Hang on, I'll be right back. I'll be right back because I gotta say this character's name because he's very important to the plot, and the fact that I forgot it makes me feel like a dumb face, so please excuse me. Vitruvius! Its name is Vitruvius. Why do wizards always insist on picking such complex, convoluted names? Why can't they pick something simple like Bob, or Steve, or Jim, or Harry? No, not Harry. No self-respecting wizard calls himself Harry. Speaking of wizards, there are a couple of wizards in this film, and one or two of them, which you might have thought would be in such a Lego movie. At first thought, looking at the character of Vitruvius and the fact that Morgan Freeman actually plays him, I actually thought that he was a sort of a Gandalf-looking guy, especially the fact he has almost all the prerequisites of what you would think that Gandalf would look like, and it turns out that Gandalf is actually in the film. Bad news. He's not really important to the plot. Actually, quite a lot of the characters aren't really all that important to the plot, and I'll get to that in a second, but I'm going to talk more about some of the other main characters. Is another character by the name of Wildstar. Wildstyle. And she is played by Elizabeth Banks. And I've been forgetting some of these other character names. It's not to say I don't care about the characters, it's just that it's a little bit difficult because you got a whole bunch of characters, not all of them named, in this movie, so it becomes really difficult to pay attention to it. Anyways, Emmett and Wildstyle. That is a dumb name. I mean, the characters are right in the movie. It sounds like something that you would name a DJ after. Anyways, these two characters cross paths in the most unlikely of ways, and I know that's probably exactly what they were going for. And these two meeting of the characters helps Emmett discover that he is the bearer of the destiny of the Special. And there's a prophecy of the Special. It says that the Special would be the most wonderful, the most amazing.
He is the most interesting man in the world.
I don't always drink beer, but when I do, I prefer Dos Equis.
That sort of person. And like I said before, Emmett's an idiot, and he doesn't really. And the other characters, especially Wildstyle and Vitruvius, think that, well, what the heck, he's the best we got. And you know what, the ultimate relic of destiny is actually glued to his back, quite literally. So, we gotta take him with us. And thereupon begins a journey across many, many parts of this actual movie that has scales that are incredibly amazing. So wide and diverse. That's one of the best things I have to say about this movie, is that it gives you scale. When you think Lego, you think scale, you think endless planes, you think possibilities and all that, and I guarantee you this movie will deliver on that. Throughout the movie, you go from cityscape, you go to desert, you go to ocean, you go to frickin' Cloud Cuckoo Land, and I am not kidding on that title. You go to Arctic, you go to outer space, because you gotta go to outer space, right? And that's really good. That's really great. That's something I expect, and I'm happy to see that they actually took the time and chose to make this world really big. And this comes into play, especially after the climax, and once again, I'm not actually going to talk about that because that's for you guys to see. I wish that some of the other characters, though, were as involved. Like you saw before, there were people like Shaquille O'Neal, which he's just there for there. I think he only has like 3 or so lines. Yeah, big deal. Now characters like Gandalf, Superman. You saw C-3PO and Lando Calrissian. You know, I made a big deal about him back in the in that character casting. But the problem is these characters are not in the movie as long as I feel that they should have been. The movie sets itself up by having all of these characters sort of become or have the title of what's known as master builders. And these guys can basically sculpt things, like use their own mind to basically craft, to basically bring things into existence simply by thinking about it. Like it's like if you could just build the Eiffel Tower just by thinking about it, and suddenly all the parts are there. And that's actually something really cool, is during the brainstorming sessions, like where all these guys think of what they want to build, all the parts appear there along with their serial numbers. I thought that was some neat use of the Lego itself, is to actually have all like the serial numbers for all the wheels and the dishes and those little tiny blocks. You know what I was sad is they didn't do a sort of like a step on Lego joke, because, well, that's been around the internet quite a few times, and that is truly one of the most painful experiences. It's not just the pain alone, it's the humiliation coupled with it. And I thought that they would have done something like this. Is, you know, those little pieces of Lego, the ones that are you know, the 2 pieces long and the very thin ones, the ones that are stuck together. Yeah, you know the one. And I thought they were going to do a bit on that, and I was, well, not exactly disappointed, but thinking that they could have had an opportunity for an extra laugh. Going back to what I was talking about, the worlds, how all the characters around them have the diversification and the personalities that match for it. You go to the Wild West, you see a whole bunch of bar-themed stuff, and when you're in the city, you have a whole bunch of utilitarian-looking, authoritarian RoboCop 1984-looking place. And you have all the police guys, which are basically a whole bunch of robots, because, well, there are a whole bunch of robots because, first of all, the robots are faceless. They're there so they can get blown up, and obviously you can't have real Lego guys doing that because, well, that makes your heroes kind of look a little bit like villains. So if they're robots, it's okay. Never mind all the property damage that's suffered in the process. But that's another story entirely. The leader of these police officers is Liam Neeson himself.
Lord business. I know the special got away, but
Don't be so serious. Where's the other guy? Hey, buddy. I missed you.
Oh, did you really?
Have I ever shown you my relic collection?
Nope, I don't think you have.
Nobody knows where this stuff comes from. This one is the Cloak of Bandaid. I hear it's super painful to take off. You want to try it on?
Well,
no.
And it's just strange to see Neeson acting in the way that he does, where he plays a good cop and a bad cop. But what I mean by that is when he actually faces the characters, he's there talking in his Liam Neeson voice, where he's basically interrogating him as this motorcycle helmet wearing, Ray-Ban aviators wearing bad cop. And then when you least expect it, he flips around, and he's the good cop, and Liam Neeson talks in a voice like that. And you think Liam Neeson, you think the roles that he's been in, it just scares you a little bit to see him talking just like that. And it's used to maximum effect. During the travels of the characters, they also encounter Batman himself. Batman, played by Will Arnett. Not even the Ben Affleck thing was as crazy as that, but you know what? I liked it. I liked it a lot, and I wasn't expecting Will Arnett to actually play the part well, because Batman himself is not actually Batman. He's actually more of like a parody version of Batman. Of course, you take all the aspects of Batman that you know and love, and you essentially just exaggerate them to a large degree. Batman in the film, he made a couple jokes to the fact that he's an orphan, and that my parents are dead. And of course, it's obligatory. I'm Batman. I'm Batman. Because you know, you always have to have one of those when it's a Batman thing. And I completely forgot it was Will Arnett doing that. And you know what? He was probably my favorite character in the entire movie. Simply the fact that he's this dark, brooding sort of thing. And he actually refers to himself as dark and brooding. So you have the character recognizing that sort of thing about himself. I think it was spot on. Now, the other characters is I didn't really care for them all too much, especially with the environments that changed. And just looking at these people, like you have the characters of things like Unikitty, and yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like. It's basically a unicorn cat with anger management issues. I got nothing more to say about that. Then you got Metalbeard, which is the character of Metalbeard was basically like a pirate who has this giant robotic body, and that was because of a failed attack on President Business. And he's basically like this gunslinging sea dog, salty chanting, yarging pirate, how you would expect a pirate to act. And he's mainly there for sort of like comic relief. But you know what? I didn't care very much for those characters. You give me the main cast. Even the idiot is a little bit more lovable than some of those characters. So let's see, what else can I talk about? How the plot is like I said before at the beginning, you assume it's as simple as good and evil, because the film certainly sets itself up as that. I mean, like the introduction to Lord Business himself is essentially like with this massive looking, what I can only refer to as like the platform shoes on steroids. How he can basically just raise himself up an extra 10, 20 feet. I assume it's feet. I mean, I don't know. They used to measure themselves there to essentially bring himself to the power position up above to look down upon those who wish to be free in his presence. And it's only to really accentuate, of course, that he's the bad guy and that he is bigger than you. And of course, the hero is the one that's lovable, loves all things free. And of course, the hero thing is like, how do I make people like me? And Emmett's character is, I don't want to call him a loner, but I want to call him the guy that everybody really ignores because, well, he's not really remarkable. His face is literally a generic Lego face. It's probably the most generic that you can get. And that was the point of his character, because all the people around him, when things started going wrong, they didn't care who he was. They didn't know who he was. They didn't even know his name. So you get that point where like Emmett's like, why does nobody like me? I care about everyone around me. I just want to be liked. And I guess this makes you feel sympathy for the character, but it's something that's been done too. Done very many times. That the hero doesn't have any friends, and the whole point of the journey was to help him gain friends, or see that he was able to make friends all along and he didn't know it. At the point he had to actually have an instruction booklet. I mean, they all have instruction booklets to help them live their lives, make friends, and how to make everyone like you. And naturally, by the end of the film, he has like a whole bunch of friends. They're there together forever and ever, and all that. So where it actually becomes a little bit interesting is that the plot actually changes at the very end. Well, not at the very end, but at the point where things are really starting to turn, when things seem at their worst. There's a twist to the plot that sort of elevates it to another point. Good stuff. You know, I take my coffee like the wolf does. Lots of cream, lots of sugar. Now, the changing of the plot itself allows us to view things a little bit differently. While we assumed it was just simply black and white, good versus evil before, it now becomes an aspect of creativity versus order. And this alone has made me think of the plot a little bit more than I think I should have, but it at the same time has the ideas of whether it's good to be creative and chaotic or ordered, and at the same time very closed off, very rule bound. And I feel that it's not good to do one or the other, and that's what the film is sort of portraying. When the characters go to Cloud Cuckoo Land, it's like that level from Banjo-Tooie, right? Or was it Banjo-Kazooie? I don't remember. It was Banjo-Tooie. That was what it was. Anyways, when they go there, the character of Unikitty, when she greets them there and says, "Oh, we're here. This is there are no rules. There's no government, no babysitting, and absolutely no rules whatsoever. You can go crazy." I felt that when I was watching that. My first rule, well, not rule, but my first reaction to that was, oh, so they're going to portray the people who have absolutely no rules, no limitations, and stuff like that as the good people, obviously, and people, pardon me, and some good coffee, and the people who have all the rules and limitations are the bad guys. And my thought through all this is that if you want to have a good structured life, you have to strike a balance between the two. You have to have order, but at the same time you have to have a little bit of flexibility and creativity. And I think that's what the film attempts to do at the very end, but I still feel that it's very cut and dry. Now, I know for sure that this is a film that's actually aimed for children. Because, well, all kids will play with Lego. If you haven't played with Lego, there's something wrong with you or something. Because every child, I think, in their life has probably touched Lego or something that is very, very similar to Lego. But when you look at it from a different age group, you view the story a little bit differently. And that sort of divide is something that didn't really mesh well with me when I watched it. And I was thinking, well, why can't you have both? I mean, why can't you have creativity and structure? Because, well, one of the parts of the film when they were relating to the master builders, the people who are basically in charge of the creation of whole universes. One of the things that is so distinguishing about these people is they don't follow rules. They don't have any rules, and that they don't follow any sort of guideline. It's all up here, and this is actually pointed out by the main character, the guy who's supposed to be the idiot. Let me remind you. That says, well, hey, you don't follow any rules. You see, that's what we can do. Follow the rules. They won't expect it. And it works. It works quite a few times. And that's the thing that I feel that they never really truly got in the very end, is that you can have creativity and you can have order, because I think that that's really the perfect sort of interlocking relationship between the two. I mean, you need creativity in the world, but you need rules as well to make sure that you don't go overboard. And that's what I think the movie should have told in a sort of a moral sort of thing. It proves that love and friendship and all that fun stuff is key to a sort of enjoyable experience. Now, it's stupid fun, like I said before. It's supposed to be good. There's supposed to be the good and the evil. It's sort of like an epic story, and that worked. That worked to a good degree. The characters, for the most part, were likable, and the plot, for the most part, was easy to understand and had a neat twist, which I think was a really good use of the whole concept to sort of bring us closer to the movie in a medium that we could truly understand, that we are familiar with, to a certain scale that we can understand, if you get what I mean. And the music was nice. You heard me play that music right up there at the very beginning, and that was like the theme of this movie. You actually heard it in several iterations. You heard it in like a saloon sort of version. You heard it in that poppy sort of version. There's like an unplugged version that plays in the credits that has like a whole bunch of like, you know, acoustic guitars and choir and all that. And you know what? I'm gonna reflect on a line that the character said. Yes, I do get tired of hearing it eventually. The song is practically so sweet that it gave me diabetes when I walked out of that theater. And you know what? I need to stay away from that song for a little while. Aside from that, the score was very nice too, and it gave all the locales their own sort of identity. Stuff I thought was really cool. And I don't know, how long have I been recording this segment? That's about 20 minutes. Wow, I didn't think that I had this much to say about it. And there's the other segment as well. We're going to count that in just a moment. Not closing thoughts. I'm going to have a couple more things. I like all the little Lego mythology stuff they brought into it. There was a friend that saw it before I did, and he told me, dude, there's Bionicle in the movie too. But I asked more about it. He said, like, when they do that, they show it in like this thing, like the worlds that they don't talk about. And I thought that was weird. I thought that Bionicle was plenty popular of a series for Lego, so don't know why they chose to do it that way. And of course, they make references to something. There's like the character of, I think his name is Benny, who was the 80s space guy, and that was his thing. He was played by Charlie Day. Charlie Day. So, and a lot of his big thing was like space jets.
Yeah, we're both in space.
He was basically Space Corps from Portal in Lego form, because everything he wanted to do was space. Coffee. Was there anything else? Oh yeah. Another thing that I was really laughing at a whole lot was there were relics that Lord Business used a lot, and these were real things, like a pen or something that he had managed to somehow get into his world and had used it for his own nefarious purposes. Like they got like there was like the X-Acto knife, where it was like the sword of X-Acto Zero, or it's the police remover of Nail, and of course the Kraggle. So that was neat. I really thought that was funny, the way that Will, of course, took it, distorted the names. I wouldn't be surprised if he did it themselves. They just said, "Here's a pen, make it funny," and he just did that. He's like, "Oh, this is the marker of BK. It's the ultimate weapon of marking in ink, where I can blot out my enemies," and stuff like that. And that was funny to see all that being used in there. So, closing thoughts on this. The Lego movie is fun. It's fun. Don't go in expecting to see some sort of emotional, meaningful, tear-jerking, blockbuster, Michael Bay explosion sort of thing, because it's not that. What it is fun. Crazy fun. I went in there thinking I wasn't gonna laugh. I thought there was gonna be a whole bunch of like, you know, poppy sort of stuff like I got from the trailer. And it's not like my experience when I went in to see The Great Gatsby, and in 1920s America I'm hearing Pitbull and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, the film does the opposite by telling us that, hey, sometimes all the cultural norms and all the stuff that you're familiar with, all your television shows, popular music, and social conventions aren't always good and aren't always that good for you. You need a breather every once in a while. I was pleasantly surprised in that area. The characters, this thing was star-studded. Star-studded. You see what I did there? And the characters were nice. The environments were beautiful. The action scenes were well done. The animation was crisp like that. I have to give them credit. I have to give them credit where credit's due. You guys made a good video. Made a good film. And that's why I recommend you to at least give it a shot. And, well, if you ever play with Lego in your life, then you'll know all that cool stuff. They made a game of this already, though. And I know the movie license games aren't all that strange. They're all over the place. But there is a Lego the movie. Pardon me. There is the Lego movie the game. Already out as far as I know. Unless I'm wrong. The Lego movie the game. Are you serious with me? It's how much overdoing it could you possibly be? I already know what the game's gonna play like because I've already played it several times before when I played Lego Lord of the Rings, Lego Marvel, Lego Star Wars. All that stuff is pretty much exactly the same. You're not gonna be going anywhere new with this, guys. And speaking of going anywhere new, I hear that there's already a sequel in the works. Already a sequel, and the movie hasn't been out for all that long. That's impressive and worrying at the same time. Because the sequels, if anything has taught us over time, is that sequels aren't usually as great as the original. I've been proven wrong in the past about that, though, because things like Toy Story are excellent examples. Toy Story 2 was a good example of a sequel that was done better than the original. The Empire Strikes Back is another good example of a sequel better than the original. However, this is not always the case, and this is something that I think that they should really be looking at to make sure that they tread carefully here. Tread carefully, but have fun. I know that you guys had a whole bunch of fun making the movie, and I had a whole lot of fun watching it. So, I have to say that watch the movie, have some fun, take some friends, take some kids along if you really want to. It was some stupid fun. And you know what? I was happy to be a part of it for about an hour and 40 minutes. You know what? Bring on the sequel. I like to see what you guys do. What you push the envelope in when it comes to this movie. I approve. I approve. Anyways. Thanks for bearing through this with me. Because, well, this is a long video. The longest I've made so far. Especially with me talking for so long. But, thank you all the same. It's actual. I'm signing off.
Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of the team. Everything is awesome.
I'm Batman.